Here we go. Here we go. Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. Sorry for the delay, but you know how things are sometimes. There are things beyond our control. Today, I will be talking to a young man. He is a product of Hampton University. He's
Yes,
a
sir.
Christian minister. And let me say, he is a black conservative, Mr. Devinn Smart. And it's a pleasure having you on the New Right Network. My name is Claston Bernard. I'm the author of Outcast, No Room at the Table for Conservative Blacks in Black America. And I am now on the program with the Blacklisted gentleman called Mr. Devinn Smart.
Yes, sir. Thanks for having me. I really appreciate the opportunity.
I tell you, man, I appreciate you actually taking us up on this. But first of all, just tell me about Devin. You're a guy. You're in New York City. You're in New York State, and you just decide that you know what, I want to go to an HBCU because this is where I want to get started in my career. You tell me a
Yes,
little
sir.
about that.
So again, my name is Devinn Smart. I'm originally from Rochester, New York, but I decided to come to Hampton University to pursue my college education, a historical Black college here in Hampton, Virginia. So I love the culture here at Hampton University, and I felt that it was a good place for me to grow. Here at Hampton University, I had an opportunity freshman, sophomore year. I participated in an Army ROTC program, got involved in some student organizations on campus. And right around my into sophomore junior year is when I came out and told everyone that I am a black conservative. And if you only can imagine the eyebrows, the looks, the names I got called, but that it is what it is.
So tell me what it was like. I know you had questions, from especially in history class. You're starting, your eyes are becoming open, and you become,
Yes.
and you start asking questions. What was that like?
So with me, there wasn't any questions when I came out and said, "Listen, I'm a black conservative. I don't support the Democratic candidates nor their policies." I got called a Uncle Tom, a coon, a Oreo, white on the inside, black on the outside, a bootlicker. All these names because people are so brainwashed by the left that they're not open to learning or hearing any different perspective than theirs. A lot of people look at a difference of opinion as something wrong or bad instead of a learning opportunity. So a lot of people, oh man, they wrote me off, said this guy isn't legit, don't listen to anything he says. But then when President Donald Trump won the election, and I let everyone know, listen, I support President Donald Trump. I put on the Make America Great Again hat, and I put it on my Twitter, and I said, listen, my name is Devinn Smart, and I would no longer be manipulated by the Democratic Party. They have manipulated the black community for over 50 years, and I'm tired of it. And that tweet went viral, and oh man, people from everywhere was talking the most trash simply because they didn't agree with my stance.
And that's such a tragedy. In my book, Outcast,
Yes.
I wrote about parents wanting their kids to become productive members of society and aim for lofty goals. And one of the thing I noticed, when President Bush was president and Condoleezza Rice, Dr. Condoleezza Rice,
Yes.
was in the forefront. They were calling her an idiot. They had the worst things to say about her. And that's where, I really started zeroing in and saying something is wrong with this. Here's
Yes.
an intelligent black woman being scorned because she is a conservative. And at the time I was still supporting Democrats. So it was, but that kind of woke me up and I'm like, whoa. So, this has been a consistent trend. How do you encourage someone to be the best? And when they come up and have a mind, to think for themselves, you're then lambasted or made fun of. No, it wasn't just on campus or people you didn't know, but what was it like with your family when you said, hey, um, this is where I am?
Well, you see, I had different reactions. So my great grandmother, she's a long term Democrat, and and with her, she was against it, saying I don't support it at all. But then on the other side, my mom is like, listen, it's your life, you live your life. You're a good kid, and if these are your perspectives, I support you, even though I may not agree with it. I support it. But then you had some family members, oh man, you're not going to get invited to the cookouts anymore. Or you're nothing but a coon. How can you support a racist? Blah 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 blah. Just again with the victimhood mentality. And yeah, so it's ridiculous for me. One, I'm a Christian minister.
Yes.
I was licensed to preach the word of God. I was licensed to preach in 2014 during my sophomore year at Hampton University. And with that being said, reading my Bible, God doesn't give us a spirit of fear, number one. So why am I going to have a victimhood mentality instead of being a victor? Why am I going to make excuses for my current situations when the Bible tells me that eyes have not seen, ears have not heard, neither has it entered the heart of man what God has for those who believe in him? So I can't be a victim. I'm not a victim. And a lot of people, the left has a unique way of manipulating the emotions of the Black community to force us into a victimhood mentality. Therefore, they can control us. They want us to keep us angry, bitter, pissed off, and that's the only way they can have our votes, because they know that the policies for over 50 years have not helped or increased anything in the Black community at all.
And we'll get to that later in a different question. But you touched on something, and we had briefly talked about it in our phone conversation. How can you claim to be a Christian and be a victim? How does victimhood and victory square? Victory means freedom. Victimhood means oppression. So how do you square that narrative to these Black ministers, who some of them who have shunned you, and there are many more who continue to preach this message that trying to convince Blacks to stay in the ranks of the Democratic Party? Yeah. They don't have to be Republican. They can be independent. But take a look. How do you square victimhood with being a Christian, a victor?
It doesn't make sense to me, and I don't know. I think just honestly, a lot of people have just been brainwashed. They grew up in a family of Democrats, and therefore they don't do their own research on the political parties. They just follow into that tradition of their family. So if they hear anything against what they grew up learning, they rather just have that mindset. The white man is holding me back. No, the white man isn't holding you back. you have equal opportunity to go out there and make something of yourself. Stop walking around saying the white man held you back. You can't advance because of the white man, blah, blah, blah. When you say that, you put yourself in this state of stagnant. You're stagnant. You're not growing now. So it's just something that I hope and pray what the Blacklisted movement with Candace Owens is doing is making the Black community aware that you can leave the Democratic Party and you can walk into that victorious mind state.
You mentioned Candace Owens, and she's catching a lot of flack, and she's, especially from the Black leadership. You can see that, and even with when she went to Congress, not just the Black leadership, but the Democratic politicians.
Yes.
And she's doing a phenomenal job. But, in voices like yours, you have to continue to get out there and support her, because this is needed, because the message is to destroy, to ridicule. But they haven't been able to ridicule her. So in a way, they're trying to put her in a situation to where when you hear her name, you automatically are revolted by it, or you want to turn the TV station. Now, What would you say to her dealing with this kind of mess?
Oh man! First of all, I think it's absolutely ridiculous that she has to deal with it. But I love Candace Owens because she states the facts. One thing that she always say: stop being a victim. She didn't grow. She didn't have the best upbringing, but she put herself in the position to get to where she is today. I made a tweet on Twitter. It was about 2 weeks ago. I said Candace Owens is a revolutionary Black activist who was painted as a coon, a white supremacist, a white apologist, all by the left-wing media outlets. I made that tweet, and Twitter closed down my account for an entire week. I couldn't tweet. I couldn't do anything. I couldn't like any post, send any messages. Twitter has a way of censoring the voices of conservatives, especially Black conservatives, because they don't want the Black community to be aware of what's going on. A lot of people are being deplatformed. Their accounts are being locked. Accounts are being deleted, all because we have a difference of opinion. And that Twitter, all these big tech companies, they don't want people to hear it. Facebook is the same way. If you go on Facebook and I made a post on Facebook saying, I love this. I love the economy right now under President Donald Trump. And my account got flagged. They said that the post was deleted because it was offensive.
Yeah. Well, my account got disabled by Facebook and it only has pro-life and pro-Trump messages on it. So, yeah, I try to, I haven't been able to get on my Facebook page, but the thing about it is I believe what I believe in my heart, and
Yes,
that's one of
yes.
the reasons why I put it in a book, because you know what, once the book is written and it's out there, it's very hard to destroy it.
You're
And
right. You're right.
they will do what they want to do because they believe that they have the power right now to censor and to control the message and the emotion. But I want to go back to something.
Okay.
Being a student on Hampton University, I'm kind of far removed now from the college campuses, but what is it like for a conservative black man in an HBCU? What is that like? Just give me a day to day. You getting up, going to school, going through the quad, going to your class, or they have events. What is it like? What is the messaging like?
But see, so honestly, this when I first said that I was a black conservative, and additionally also said that I supported President Donald Trump, a lot of people on campus, they'll see me, they make a funny face or things like that. But what I did see is a lot of people saw that I was being firm in my beliefs. So I had a lot of people inboxing me on Twitter saying, "Hey, listen, Devin, I'm a black Republican. I'm a conservative as well. I just didn't have the courage to come out and say it. Thanks for coming out." Or, "Hey, Devin, listen, I don't agree with what you're saying, but I'm open to having that intellectual conversation based on facts and not emotions because you're so firm with your beliefs. I want to learn more." So of course, you got a lot of people that they don't research politics. They don't know anything about politics. The furthest thing they know is CNN and MSNBC. That's the anti-Trump networks. Everything on the right is bad. Blah blah blah. Those people on those that listen to those networks, they're not open to have the conversation. They don't want to talk to you. They don't want to be in a friend group. And I actually had a pretty good friend, her and I, she's from Rochester, New York as well. And she told me, "Devin, we've been friends since your senior year in high school. Since you support President Donald Trump, I can no longer be friends with you." So it's a lot of people on the campus that they won't talk to me if they see me. If homecoming is in October, so I'm expecting a lot of people not to talk to me, but then there's a lot of people that will, and a lot of people who has the same beliefs, but they just don't have the courage right now to come out and say it.
And what I'll say to that is a lot of that is coming from family dynamics, because
Yeah,
for
yeah.
you, the facts keep speaking, the facts keep being firm. For me, as an immigrant to this country, I fell in love with the U.S. Constitution. That's where I found my identity. And when you start looking at the history, there's no undenying there was a history that wasn't it has left a nasty stain
Hmm.
in America, but we're no longer there. But what I did find when I look at the U.S. Constitution was that's where I could identify. I could see
Yes.
myself as an immigrant, as an American. Now, when I speak, sometimes someone will say to me, "Brother, man, you don't know what you're talking about. You don't understand. You're not from here. You're not oppressed." So how would you answer something like that? Because I get that all the time, and they're trying to tell me, "You don't understand. You don't know. What am I missing about the white folks because I wasn't born here, even though now I am an American, that I'm, history or my experience is showing me otherwise, saying, man, this is not I understand some of the arguments, but a lot of it is based on fear and irrationality." How
Exactly.
do you respond to that? Because for me, I hear that all the time. "You're not from here, man. You just don't understand. You just don't know." What am I supposed to know when they don't read the history books that they're supposed to be reading, and they listen to MSNBC and CNN? What is it that I'm missing?
See. What's funny is they tell you that you're not from here to try to put you in a spot of thinking that you don't know, but they mistake it because you've done your research. Once you've done your research and you have the facts don't lie. I don't care what year it is. If you say 2 + 2 = 4, you can go to any country in this world. You can go anywhere, and that will always be the answer to the question. So that's a way for them to deflect the conversation. They don't want to have the conversation. So their way of ending the conversation is basically telling you that you're not qualified enough to have the conversation. And when they try to say that you're not qualified enough to have it, they want the conversation to end. They don't want to have that dialogue back and forth because not their opinions, but the things that they've been believing for so long, that was questioned. Like, "Oh man, wait, I didn't know this." Oh, I didn't know that either.
Yeah.
But CNN said this. But yeah, you have to understand that CNN and MSNBC, they're not going to tell the full story. They're going to take clips. For example, when Candace Owens went before Congress, they try to basically say that she was saying that being a white supremacist was okay.
Mm-hmm.
But they only showed half of the clip. And that's what these news outlets doing now. So you really have to do your own research and read and dig into the actual facts to actually know something. So a lot of people, they want to deflect from the conversation because they really don't know, or they do know, but they just don't want to accept the facts, or they're just scared that they're going to get, shunned by their friends and their families, and people are going to cut them off. But you can't live your life like that.
And that's the thing that I've been hearing. And do for me, sometimes I look at it. How is it different from when they had Jim Crow, when they'd be told, boy, you don't belong here. You don't belong here. How is that different when you say to someone, I've lived here longer than I've lived in my country of birth?
Exactly.
Now men who are 21, 22 year olds are basically saying, you don't understand. I've lived here just as long as you have been here. So what is it that I'm missing? What am I missing when I'm saying, pull your bootstrap up? The history is not being told the way that it's supposed to be told. But do you think that it is more sinister, or is it just like you said, they're just trying to dismiss the conversation and saying, man, you're saying basically the same thing that the segregationists used to say, boy, you don't belong here. Is that is that what they're trying to say?
They want, I honestly believe they just want to dismiss the conversation.
Okay.
A lot of people, they're just repeating what they hear from other people. You don't belong here. You shouldn't be here. You don't understand what we go through here. Well, guess what? I was born here, and I'm saying the exact same thing that you're saying. So what's wrong with me then? This is my problem. The Democratic Party and the left, they always say that that minorities should be represented everywhere. But as soon as you are represented in the conservative space, you're no longer credible.
Yes.
I don't understand that. Or when I start telling people, hey, well, the Democratic Party founded the KKK. The Democratic Party, they opposed the 13th, 14th, and 15th Amendment. They instituted the Jim Crow laws. The Democratic Party, they was against the 1965 Civil Rights Act. So now what are you going to say to that?
And that's the thing, and those are the questions that I raise, and they'll capitulate to this. They'll move to, there was a shift, and I was like, oh, come on now. There's always something. There's always a moving of the goalposts, and it's like, I guess you're right. They don't want to deal with the reality of things. They don't want to deal with the facts
Exactly.
of what's been happening. It is tragic, man. And I like the way you address that, because you're here, you're born, you're saying the same thing that I'm saying in a lot of ways. And before a week ago, we never had a conversation, and I saw it to write it in a book and says, man, you got to stop thinking this way. You have to start moving forward. You can't be a victim. And the more you cry victim, the harder it is for you to be able to identify situations that need to be dealt with from those perspectives.
Yeah, you're right. So when you have that victimhood mentality, you're stopping yourself from the ability to grow, because you're living your life always trying to find something wrong. And as long as you're in that mind state, now you're trying to say, well, yeah, I'm a victim, so I need a handout. I'm a victim, so I need this, I need that. Why can't you go out there and make a way for yourself? Why can't you do things to put yourself in a better position? But that's what the left is. I watched the debates, Democratic debates, and it was absolutely ridiculous. It's all of trying to keep people in the victimhood mentality.
It is. And I'm going to touch on a few things. One, today being happy 4th of July, I'll say happy 4th of July to America again. Kaepernick with his shoe thing. And I'll say this. I watched this guy, Bakari Sellers, debated another guy on CNN the other night. And I was sitting there looking at this guy, intellectually gifted, but I said the educational system failed him, and I said he need to ask for his money back, because schooling has really failed him. And I'm listening to him, and he was asked about the Kaepernick situation, and what Nike's doing with the Betsy Ross the flag.
The flag, yep.
And one of the questions that I want, and I posed it this morning, when I was doing a video, I posed it, and I says, in the question, basically, um, with the whole Kaepernick situation, Obama used the Betsy Ross flag at his
Exactly.
inauguration. Now, if Obama used it, was Obama promoting white supremacy? Can you add to that?
That's a perfect question. They choose it's selective outrage, and that means they have outrage about things when they want to have outrage about it. When President Barack Obama was giving a speech, he had one of the flags was on the left and one of them was on the right, and
Yes.
no one said anything about it. It wasn't this conversation that we're having right now. But I promise you, it's only because President Donald Trump is in the White House right now. That's the only reason this conversation is being held. It's a Trump derangement syndrome that they have going on right now, and they're just trying to find any little thing to say, "Oh man, this racist. Oh, why would Nike do this?" And then you got Colin Kaepernick. First, he was saying that he was protesting because of police brutality.
Yes.
Now you're protesting the flag. I'm confused.
And President Trump called him on it from day one and saying he was protesting the flag. And
Yep.
obviously,
Yep.
this says it all. There's nothing you can say to me now that is going to say otherwise, because obviously you have something with America.
Exactly.
Um,
Exactly.
Question. This is my view and my philosophy, and I believe that America, the best friend for Black Americans are white Americans who have been born here, who are native to this country. And I'm saying that coming from an immigrant, and vice versa. The best friend for the white man is the Black Americans, because believe it or not, this is your country. This is our country. No, yes, I'm an immigrant, but this is where if something happens, most Americans, whether they're black and white, can't go to Europe
Yes.
and claim property. They can't go to Africa and claim property. So when you have the Democrats now pushing this argument, basically trying to say, look, come in, all the immigrants, you can come in and you can have whatever you want. And how, trying to paint the president in a negative light. How do you respond to that?
See, now my whole thing is the Democratic Party, they want to give illegal aliens, people that have not been through the process of becoming a citizens here of the United States of America, free health care, the right to vote. But the funny thing is they're making them the victims, and now if they want to give them the right to vote because they have a lot of people voting for them again. Now you're manipulating their emotions now. And my thing is, they look at it a way. They say it's concentration camps right now at the borders. You keeping the children away from their parents. First of all, why would the parent bring their child to come across the border illegally when they know it's a potential that they will be separated? Why would you want to put your child through that situation? But then again, the left, they're going to say is, well, they just want a better life. Well, we have processes in place for a reason.
And I said this earlier in a video I did. And back to that guy Sellers, because that's why I said he need to ask for his money back. When the Kaepernick stuff, his schooling failed him. When Kaepernick when Kaepernick question was asked on CNN, he went right away to the 3/5 clause. And when this country was being formed, when we were going through, and we're on Independence Day today, but basically the slave owners were saying, we want the slaves to count as whole persons so we can maintain power. We can maintain the power. And the same thing they're doing with illegal immigrations today. They're basically saying the same thing. We want the illegal immigrants to come across. Hey, die if you can die in the way. We'll sell the world your story. But basically, do you see the correlation between what they're doing today? It wasn't the Democrats so much when the country was being formed, but it was similar forces that was in play, basically saying slaves could count for voting purposes to keep us in power, so slavery could continue. And then the Democrats today is saying illegal immigrants, come across. Give us, we know when you get your citizenship and you get into this country, you get set up, you will vote Democrats. So we'll do whatever is necessary.
Exactly.
Do you see that correlation? What do you think about that?
Yeah, yes, I see the correlation. It's all about pandering. That's what they do. They found a specific group that they know is going through a problem, and they just hounding on that one problem just to get the votes. That's all it's about. They want to make the illegal immigrants able to come here, right to vote, free health care, able to run for office and things of that nature, because they know if that happens, they will vote Democrat.
And you see how tragic it is. In a sense, let's dangle this carrot. And I saw Cory Booker going
Yeah.
across, bringing illegal immigrants here. These people basically have no rights. You're breaking the law to come to this country. There's a process to get to this country. They have no rights. Slaves had no rights either. Look at the correlation. But the Democrat, well, it wasn't the Democrats at the time. The pro-slavery folks were basically saying, we can count the blacks 100% towards voting, so we can maintain power. Now, the North made a compromise because they wanted to form this union to say, we will allow you to count 3/5 of the slave population. It didn't say slave was 3/5 of a human. It actually is illogical and ludicrous to think that even the most ignorant person, our most hateful person, to think that they would say, how do you count 3/5? One person is 3/5 of a human. It makes no sense.
It makes no sense, yeah.
The science wasn't there, but numbers-wise, logically, it makes sense. We'll count 3/5 of the slave population. But what I'm saying today, the Republicans are in a position where they don't need to compromise with the Democrats today to fix the immigration system. Back then, when we formed this country, the compromise was necessary to really push forward to end slavery, which did happen. But we're not there today. So what do you say to Republicans who like to fib and like to play kind of pander to? There's a bunch of them that likes to do that too. What do you say to them with this situation? Do they fall for the AOC or the Joaquim, what's his name? Joaquim, what's his brother name? Castro, and all these immigrant panderers? What do you say to them in respect? Do they because they like to talk about history, but they like to revise it. Do you try to remind them, and especially when someone says 3/5, what happened? What would you say to them?
See, what I like to tell people is first of all, you have to do your own research. But when you do your own research and you find your beliefs, stand firm on your beliefs. Don't. A lot of people they pander on both sides. It happens on both sides. They pander just to be heard or just to be liked. If you stand on your foundations, knowing that we have a process of becoming a legal citizens of the United States of America, you follow that process. Then you got AOC going to the border gate. It was obviously, if you look at the picture, there was no one behind there, and they was just screaming to scream. The gate was actually open if you looked at the picture. So it was just a photo op for her, and that's how it is about most people when it comes to this conversation, a photo op, and it's ridiculous.
AOC reminds me of Stalin.
Oh, man.
She reminds me of Stalin. Yes, she reminds me of Stalin, and the reason why I say that. Stalin was the kind of guy who would go around starting fires. He would always start fires, but then he would disappear. He'd start the fires and disappear. So he would go there and start something, and then he'd disappear. People would get arrested. People would get thrown in jail, but he was never around. And that's how AOC, that's how Stalin got his start. This is the same way AOC is behaving today. Now, what do you think about her as a politician?
Oh, first, I don't support AOC at all. I think she's a complete joke. When I put my Make America Great Again hat on and posted on Twitter, she actually quoted the tweet and says, "This young man is a token. He must be a Russian bot."
Wow. I
responded to her, and she never responded back. Oh man. She is a joke with that new Green Deal, which was actually absolutely ridiculous. She always wants to talk about who's qualified and who's not qualified to be in positions of leadership when it comes to Congress. And then she said, President Donald Trump isn't qualified to be in the White House. Well, do you think you're qualified to be a congresswoman? You were a bartender?
But not only that, you're a communist.
Yeah.
She's a communist. There's one thing about being a bartender, but you're a communist.
Exactly.
Which is anti-Christian, anti-U.S. Constitution. So,
yes.
Ilhan Omar, what's your opinion of her?
Oh, Ilhan Omar and AOC, they're both in the same boat. Both of them are in the same boat. I don't understand how both of them can say the things they say and people on the Democratic side are still supporting them when it's anti-American. Everything they do.
I find it mind blowing. I ask the same question all the time, over and over. How is this? How and is it that we're just at a place where we've just given ourselves over totally to evil? What is it? Cory Booker.
Now, the Cory Bookers, the Kamala Harrises, what they're doing, and I've been saying this since day one. Neither one of them has a chance of being the president of the United States of America. That's just not going to happen. They're another black face that they're saying, okay, President Barack Obama, he won the election, he was the president of the United States. Now I want to try my luck. Now I just want to put my chicken in the hat now to see if I get picked. Neither one of Kamala Harris or Cory Booker will be the president of the United States. Everything they say, that, as I said, they pander to the black community. They, for example, Kamala Harris, she during the Democratic debates, she was speaking to Joe Biden and was talking about how she was a little black girl on the bus, and then she had these shirts made, and she made over $1 million off the shirts. It was just, and her approval rating went up simply because she was pandering. But both of them are jokes. They're jokes as well. I can't support. So Kamala Harris, she goes around saying that, well, I smoked weed in college. I listened to Tupac. I graduated from a historical black college, and I pledged a black sorority. But no one goes back to look at her record as a prosecutor and how she didn't help the black community at all, or how Kamala Harris. One thing that I can't stand about now. You can marry whoever you want to marry. I don't have a problem with that. But don't get on live TV and saying the white man is responsible for our current state. The white man has been holding the black community back, blah, 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 but you're married to a white man.
Well, there are a lot of weak white men. Most of them are liberals.
Yeah.
And the statistics are out there saying that, So, I don't know how someone can sit there and feel comfortable with that unless they're just as weak. They're weak, pathetic men, to be honest.
But it's ridiculous. It's pandering. How can you say all this stuff about the white man if you're married to one? Like you're just trying to trigger the black community back into the just emotions. That's it.
And the irrational thing about that is you're married to a white man. If somebody in the black community was so full of rage and hatred, do you think he's going to distinguish which white man is conservative and who isn't? Hatred is not. It doesn't work like that. So
exactly.
If it hates, it hates one. Because hatred is hatred. It might be directed to one group more than another, but if it's directed towards a white race, that person is not going to really try to distinguish who's conservative or who is not. They just see a white face that they want to destroy. They'll destroy it, and that's the danger behind pushing this kind of message. You talked about Kamala Harris, and she went after Joe Biden, and with this whole segregation issue. But what has come about the whole situation is that she was born in '64. San Francisco was segregated in '63, and there wasn't so much of an issue. And one of the things, like for me, I'm a Jamaican born. I'm a Jamaican American immigrant, if I was to say that. But I feel this is where I live. This is where I'm raising my family. I can comfortably say I am an American. Someone was to ask me, especially as a black man, what are you? I'm an American. Just leave it at that. Okay. I wasn't born here, but I am. I can say that. Now, what is wrong with her saying, if she wants to distinguish herself, that she was a Jamaican American, the child of a Jamaican American immigrant? Actually, what was so wrong in saying that? Why did she have to try to play the game to see, like, one, you were raised in Canada, you were raised in, why do you have to pander so much?
Listen, I don't know why she's doing it. And the funny thing is, her father had made a video confronting her about it. Basically, he was talking to Fox saying the same exact thing. And I don't know. I don't know why you have to pander so much to abandon where you're from. Like what? That's the thing about her. That's the thing about her and about the left. They pander.
Why can't she just be an American? Just be an American. It saves a lot of headache.
Yeah.
You know,
Yeah.
and you know, I've said it to my friends, especially children in biracial relationships. It's better to own the American brand. It's not saying your skin color or your
Yeah.
race is not
Yeah.
important,
Yeah.
but the American brand is a brand that saves life. I have friends when I was an athlete and I went to Europe, they wouldn't say I was Black American. They said they were
Mhm.
American. Why? Why when they're in Europe they're Americans, but when they're back here they're African American or whatever else hyphenated. You know
Oh man, that was Jesse
why?
Jackson. Jesse Jackson coined that phrase, that slogan there, African American. He coined that, and then
Yes.
a lot of people in the media heard him say that, and now that's everywhere. You fill out a job application now. It's Black/African American. So
Yes.
that's
Because you know,
bogus.
when I hear this, I hear it all the time. Most white people just say they're American.
Hmm.
Okay, a lot of them, even their family, came after the blacks that were here. So
Yeah.
you know, most of the white Americans today weren't here during slavery, which most Black Americans families are here are product of slavery. So why are Black Americans referring to themselves as African Americans? Why? This is their country. We know
Yeah.
the
Well.
lineage. We know the lineage is African, you know, coming out of African. But this is where your family roots have been for 200 plus years. Why are you so comfortable in accepting a title from a race hustler like Jesse Jackson?
Oh yeah, but see, no, that's the L Sharpton, the Jesse Jackson. They both are race hustlers, but they don't want to have the conversation with other educated Black people in the conservative movement to talk about that. For example, Larry Elder, he's asked Jesse Jackson and L Sharpton to come on the show to sit down and have that conversation, and neither one of them would do it because they know that they will be exposed for just being race hustlers and just saying things to the Black community just to get that support. That's
I
all. That's
I
all. That's all they're doing.
I look forward. I would love to see them on
Oh,
Larry Elder or Jesse Lee Peterson show. I would love to see them on that kind of
that
program,
won't
man.
happen. That won't happen.
I've been waiting for it because I'm like, if your message is so strong, why don't you go on these programs? You know, put it out there. Or you know, what do you think about Ta-Nehisi Coates?
It all. That depends. That's
Well, one, you know, let's start with a big, rich, multi-millionaire guy going before Congress begging for money. Eh, eh,
but see, that's what they do all the time. This what I tell people. The Democratic Party is a bunch of rich people trying to convince poor people that the other rich people is responsible for them being poor.
That's a very good analogy. That's
That's what it is. And then on top of that, what I tell people, they say, Devin, why are you a conservative? Well, the conservatives, they're about the rights of the individual.
yes,
Liberals are about the rights of the collective good, but the collective good being that's being framed by the leftists that's in charge at the times. But they're at the rights of they're at the rights of the collective at the expense of the right of the individual. And they want to put in all these policies in place, but guess what? They never have to live by those policies they're putting in place. I tell people the Democrats want to keep you poor.
they do.
They want to keep. They want to. And probably, go ahead. I'm sorry.
No, they need you. You know, because the only way that they can control you is if you're a victim or they control you. They control how you eat. So they do need you. And the reason why, you know, I ask about the Ta-Nehisi coach, I watch this guy, eloquent and deceptive in his speech. You know,
Yeah.
one of the things I realized, he didn't go back as far as slavery because he
No.
knew
No.
when he was initially, I thought he was advocating for reparation for slavery, but he would have to explain the almost 700,000 whites that were killed during the Civil War that paid for it. So he then capitulated to Jim Crow and what the impact of Jim Crow. But then I'm looking at him. He's filthy rich. Danny Glover is filthy rich. And during Jim Crow, black unemployment was lower than it was today. Not saying it was a good system.
With Coates now, it's funny, the reparations conversation that you said. Coates, so he didn't go back as far back as slavery. He was talking about Jim Crow, redlining, he was talking about things like that. Now, I don't believe that that whole reparation conversation, that would never happen. Now, I like to hear the conversation. We can go back and forth, and we can talk about reparations and who should get reparations. You would never be able to see who should get the reparations. You would never be able to tell that. That's just not going to happen. But Hotep Jesus on Twitter, what he said is, well, if we're going to talk about the reparations, the Dems must pay. And then that whole conversation, it gets turned around. Because if you ask me, if you want to talk about reparations, I say the Dems must pay. They say, well, Devin, why do you feel that way? Well, LBJ, with the whole thing with the Great Society and when it came to welfare, he told the black woman that she will be qualified to have more money in welfare as long as the father wasn't in the household. So you allow the man to escape his financial and responsibility as a father, but you also exactly you tore the family apart. Now, and President Barack Obama, he's the one that said this: a black man, a black child, whoever it is, raised without a father, there's 5 times more likely to be poor, 9 times more likely to drop out of college, and 20 times more likely to either be dead or in jail.
Yes.
So if what they literally destroyed the black family. Now, if you're going to talk about reparations, yeah, the Dems must pay. The Dems must pay. And then if you're going to have that, go into that the abortion conversation. Over 19 million black babies has been aborted. 19 million.
And this is a conservative estimate.
Yeah, it's a conservative estimate. But my point of that, and then talking about the welfare is, if the Democratic Party cared so much about the black community, why are you ignoring these facts? And then, as a black conservative, I'm calling you out about it. I'm calling out to, well, I understand that welfare was designed. It was designed to help people, and I understand helping people out. But a lot of people manipulate the system of welfare, and it's a systematic thing. You're on welfare, your children get on welfare. Man, all it's doing is keeping you as a victim. You wanting a handout from the government. And that's what the whole left is pushing. And it's actually, I tell people all the time, they hate when I say it, racism is not the number one issue in the black community. Now, and what I will say is, you will always, as long as you have idiots and morons in the world, you will always have racist people. Now, I'm not making a statement there isn't racist people. I'm not going to say that. But what I will say is, that's what I'm saying. That's ridiculous.
Well, people tend to put their self-interest. That's the beauty of capitalism. People tend to put their self-interest above their prejudice. Most people do. Most rational people. So that's why it's one of the lowest factors. We all do know people who have racist ideas and racist agendas.
Oh, yeah.
Whatever.
Oh,
but
yeah.
the situation is, how does a racist convince his wife that because he hates these people so much, his company is going to fold and he can't provide for his family anymore? You know, those are questions that, you're going to have to start thinking, hold up. No, he's not going to do that. You know, so for the most part, they but you talk about the welfare state by Lyndon Johnson between 1970 and I think 2004, $226 billion was spent on welfare program in the black communities.
Yes.
The race hustling business is over $1 trillion a year, and courtesy, where is this money going? Who's getting all this money? Since 1970 to 2004, 226 million. You have $1 trillion a year industry in race hustling, and blacks are languishing in filthy conditions. Where
is the money going? That's my question. Where? Because see now when if you look how the black community is marginalized and in liberal states, you can see that they're not for the black community. Look at Flint, Michigan. When in Flint, Michigan, that whole water crisis, the water crisis started, they were led by Democrats, and what's happening now? What's happening? If you look into these inner cities where there's a lot of it's black communities, nothing is happening.
No. But I want to go back to something. We're talking about these presidential candidates, and it's something that I thought about. Do you believe that some of these guys are only there to try to increase their earning capacity, more so than want to be president? Because you look at President Obama, he's filthy rich now. Bill Clinton, filthy rich. There's something there. So for them to be able to throw, to me, that's why so many of them are throwing their hats in the ring.
Exactly.
Is to be able to tap into revenue after they're no longer in office. What do you think about that?
No, I agree with you 100%. I know that the people that's running for office, well, when they want to be president on the Democratic side, first of all of them, they don't want to be president of the United States of America at all. They're just doing it for attention. You got Joe Biden saying that if he's elected as president, he's going to cure cancer. Well, sir, you was the vice president for 8 years. You've been in politics for over 50 years. Why didn't you cure cancer if that's what you were going to do, if you had the cure to cancer? You got Bernie Sanders saying that he's going to give us free college. You got Elizabeth Warren saying that she's going to erase student loan debt, and if you're a black person, that you will get reparations if she becomes president. It's all a bunch of race hustling and pandering. And then, but one thing I do appreciate about Kamala Harris is this. Joe Biden, he wrote the 1994 Criminal Justice Act that led to mass incarceration of black men. Mm-hmm. A lot of people ignore that. But when Kamala Harris called him out during that debate, his approval rating went down in the black community, and now people are questioning if he should be president of the United States.
But you know what? I want people to question Obama's choice. Obama, the Messiah. No, that was his vice president, and he has a real patchy history of saying things that went against the black community. Some of it you have to read between the lines, but some of it was just downright. He talked about working with, they talk about the segregationist comment, but he has a right to say that. But they never mentioned that there were Democrats that he was talking about. He's talking about these segregationists that he worked with that was from Mississippi and Georgia, like there were Republicans, but there were Democrats. Yeah. And you see that kind of stuff, and you're like, what's going on? Why they don't even tell the truth. They don't tell the truth. It's just flat out. But you're right about the prison reform. There's so much in regards to that, and you can either own it or you don't. But it goes back to say this was President Obama's vice president for 8 years.
And that's my thing. First of all, if he's your vice president, there's no way that you didn't know that he was responsible for that act. You knew it.
Yes.
You knew it, but you also knew that if you were going to become president, you had to select him because he was someone that he had the attention of a lot of people on the left already. So they selected Joe Biden. But that's what did a lot of people from the black community, they love Joe Biden, not because of his policies, not because he's done anything to help the black community. Simply, they like him simply because he was the vice president when the first black president was in office. That's the only reason people like Joe Biden in the black community, because he was the vice president. And he was so, do you see all the pictures of him and Barack Obama was so buddy. And that just caught the eyes, and it was a trigger for a lot of people in the black community. So everyone's saying they're going to vote for him. One thing I see about Bernie Sanders is he was on the Breakfast Club, and Charlamagne the God asked him a question. Well, since you have been in politics, name one legislation that you have put in place to help the black community. Could not answer the question. Couldn't answer the question. So why are you running a campaign on how much you're going to help the black community if you have never helped the black community when you was in the position to do so in your previous positions? As you said earlier, I believe that is all just to make money afterwards. They're getting donations. They're doing. That's the only reason they're. It's over what, like 26 people now running for on the Democratic side. And you can quote me on this. I can tell you this without a shadow of a doubt. None of those candidates on the left will beat President Donald Trump in 2020. It will be a landslide.
Because the hysteria that they've been kicking up.
Yeah.
If you're serious about defeating President Trump, why would you have 24 people in a field, most of them flat out communists, half of them are race hustlers, and the other fall into some kind of identity politics category.
Exactly.
No economic message. And what is it now? How do black folks reconcile these candidates? How do you even identify with these people to say that they have your interest as black Americans when they're advocating open borders, when it has shown that immigration has impacted the black community worse than anybody else?
Exactly.
Tribalism pit blacks against Hispanics more than anybody else. Why would you support these candidates that are openly advocating for these policies.
I'm gonna tell you why. Most people, they don't even care about the policies. They just want to get President Trump out of the office. So they're going to vote for whoever it is. And even though the policies they're saying is absolutely ridiculous and isn't going to help the black community at all, you know what's funny? This is what I don't understand. President Barack Obama, he said that illegal immigrants in this country should be put to the back of the line and should not have any benefits over the American people. President Donald Trump is saying we need to build this wall to put the illegal immigrants at the back of the line so we can make sure the American people are first here. What's the difference?
Nothing. I'm still trying to figure it out because there's some videos. If you were able to impose President Obama over President Trump's face, you would know who said it and who didn't say it. You know, and that's the mind-blowing thing for me. But the other thing is they are, you know, running around showing this crisis at the border when I'm looking at San Francisco and some of these states where homelessness is out of control. And no one is talking about that. Why?
Exactly. You're so concerned about what's going on at the border. You're so concerned about, hey, we're protecting the kids at the border. We're going to give them the health care, the right to vote. Let's talk about homelessness. All the vets that's homeless. Let's talk about how in Virginia you can't walk somewhere without seeing someone homeless. Let's talk about when I go to the it's called the Peninsula Town Center. There's an outlet mall out here. I see the same homeless person every single day. Let's talk about those issues. But no, they rather just talk about illegal immigration because again, it's the trick to get their votes. They're going to come over here. They'll force them into that victimhood mentality. We're the ones that got you the right to vote. We're the ones that wasn't so harsh on you when it comes to immigration laws. And now we know that we're going to get your vote once you come over here. That's what it's about.
Now, do you believe that we have effective message in getting across the black folks?
This is what I say. And I say this all the time. When it comes to being a conservative, we can talk about personal responsibility. We can say pull yourself up by the bootstraps. You can say that.
Hold on one second. Personal responsibility is met with vitriol the minute you say that.
Yeah.
So how do you stay in message or continue?
When it comes to personal responsibility, you are responsible for the different outcomes in your life. And although you cannot control all the outcomes, you have to roll. Like I say, you have to roll with the punches. But the one thing I will say about conservatives, we cannot, or Republicans, you cannot trivialize the emotions of what people have been through.
Yes.
Now, because no one can say with a straight face that the black community hasn't gone through hell in the past. No. So you cannot trivialize their emotions, but you have to listen, but respond with facts. Mm-hmm. Now a lot of people want to trivialize the emotions. Well, you shouldn't feel that way. You can't tell someone how they can feel. So I think the message, but the message is effective that the free enterprise system is the best way when it comes to equality, when it comes to the basic human needs. If you look at, for example, Nipsey Hussle, he was a conservative. That man right there was talking. His lifestyle was conservative. The way this man went out there, he was entrepreneurship, having his own businesses. That's what we need to push. We need to push that message. Yo, stop relying on the government to be a Band-Aid to solve all your problems.
Man, you said a lot right there, man. You said a lot. You know, because that's the thing. It's like you'll be having a conversation, and with me, I try to be very logical. I'm very passionate about what I believe.
Yeah.
I try to be very logical in the approach, and you have to use facts. Because you can't match emotions. Men, we're not even supposed to be emotional in the way that we think and present. You know, it's not. It should be way. You know, once we start getting into emotions, we're in a whole different category. We're supposed to be logical. And what I find, it goes back to what we started talking about, is like, you don't understand, but I'm saying there are people who went to Jim Crow. Don't deny. We can't deny that. There are people who
Exactly.
suffered. But one other thing that I look at from information, whether it's reading, Thomas Sowell or Walter E. Williams,
Oh yeah.
um, not it wasn't just blacks that suffered because of Jim Crow. Discrimination hurt the South, the whites. That's why the South was so poor for so long because of this discrimination. Now,
Mhm.
one, it doesn't pay and that's I love what Thomas Sowell says. It doesn't pay to
Exactly.
discriminate. Discrimination has the only people that it pays to discriminate are the ones who gets taxpayer money. The people who doesn't have anything to lose.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
how do we reconcile? And I think that's part of the issue. Yes, blacks keep saying, man, yes, we went through a lot, but there were whites who suffered at the hands of Democratic politicians pushing these racial segregation policies. There are
Yeah.
companies that went out of business.
Yeah.
How do you present that to someone and says, look, man, we understand. Yes, you were getting the whips, you were getting the batons and the hoses and stuff like that, but there were people who are suffering financially. There were people who are losing on the other end that were not black because of this. The policy was racial policies benefits no one really, except politicians. It really only politicians who were benefiting, and people might say, so and so. We're not talking about individual instances or cases. How do you get those two messages to be able to fuse both messages together for someone to say, man, I never looked at it that way? How do you
It
present
all,
that?
it all starts with being compassionate first. First, you listen. Once you a lot of people just want to be heard. So you sit down and you listen to their point of view, you hear their perspective, you listen to it. And I always say, listen, I understand where you're coming from. And I appreciate you for being open with telling me that. But you also have to realize and then start spitting the facts as well.
Mm-hmm.
You have to state the facts, but you just can't. You can do it, but my flow, the way I go about things is I can't trivialize the emotions of someone else. I'm not the one that can tell someone how to feel or when they should feel something. But what I can tell you is, okay, that happened. I recognize that it's happened. Now, what you're going to do today? Are you going to be a victim? Are you going to stay in that same mindset? Are you going to let that stop you from growing into reaching your fullest potential? Because if you have a victimhood mentality, that everyone is against you, the white man is out to get you, there's no opportunities for you, you would never reach your fullest potential in life. Because, and then with me being a Christian, real quickly, my Bible says that God is able to do exceedingly abundantly above all we can ask or think.
It says, if you abide in me and
yeah,
if you abide in me and I in you, then you will know the truth and the truth will set you free. And, for me, that is the thing. Like you said, yes, compassion is necessary. And I have a friend who will tell me all the time, man, you're not compassionate. And I said, I'm very logical. I understand what the history says, and a lot of times, sometimes because I'm so logical in the way that I think, people might say, oh, he's just coming across as being cold. But the reality for me is this, that there are things that I've seen, there are things that I've experienced, and I know it's no benefit to pander or to cater to that emotion that you're feeling, because emotions are, if you're thinking from an emotional place, it's not right. It cannot be right. It doesn't matter what it is, the end result, it will lead to some kind of lack or some kind of wanting or something that is missing. And for me, it's being able to say, look, the reason why I decided to write a book is because I care. And you might hear what I'm saying, and you might not think that I feel the way that have experienced some of the things that you are saying. But to me, it's not that. I am at a different place. And I can't come down to where you are to make you feel good. I can't come back in the mud with you.
Yeah.
And that's the thing, is to get that message out. Because for me, it's like, man, it seems like we're getting hammered, or people are saying, you don't understand.
You know what's funny? And when we talk about getting the message out, I believe that most colleges in the United States right now are just indoctrination centers. They're not allowing you to learn both sides of the table. I graduated from Hampton University, a historical black college. When it comes to economics classes, why aren't you being taught Thomas Sowell, Walter Williams? They're black people. We're at a historical black college, why not listen to their perspective
Distinguished
as well?
scholars. Distinguished. Not just black.
Yes, distinguished
Distinguished.
scholars. Yes.
You know, that's a great question.
You know,
And
you know, you know what's funny? Right here, I have this one is Black Rednecks and White Liberals by Thomas O. And then you have Race and Economics by Walter E. Williams.
Man, look, they're great books.
Why aren't these books being taught in schools? The message will be out because it's unfair just to teach one side, one perspective, because you don't give someone an equal chance to pick what they want to believe or what they stand for.
Yes, you talk about that. When we're talking, I think last week on the phone, and I was saying, about Booker T. Washington with you going to Hampton University.
Oh, man, that
man was sleeping in a ditch on his way to Hampton University. In fact, he didn't have the money for tuition when he was at Hampton University, and he had to he actually had to audition to one of the ladies there to do some cleaning. She asked him to do cleaning, and he said the beauty for him was he was with a lady that she would check everything when he used to clean for her. And so when he got the opportunity to do it at Hampton University, that's how he got his start. He was able to pass with flying colors. He worked with his hand, and he created a university that was creating more black multimillionaires than Harvard and Princeton in the 1920s and 30s. And that is not a story being taught, and there's no statues of him. Are there any statues or buildings honoring him on campus?
Yes. No, we do. We have a huge statue. So it's funny how it's laid out. So we have a great big statue of Booker T. Washington right here on our campus. Then we also have a W.E.B. Du Bois building on campus. So he's recognized on campus. He is on campus, but all the things that he had to go through and that he did to get to Hampton University, that isn't really discussed.
And that's the thing. One of the things he said, and he was born a slave. I think he was 10 years old. So at 6, normally the slave, when you were 6 years old, I think 5 or 6, you started working as a slave. So he probably, probably give or take maybe 4 to 10, he was working as a slave. And he said something that was so pivotal. He said he doesn't envy those wealthy to-do whites who people thought had it made. And his struggle from coming from a slave to then getting to where he was at Hampton and then to Tuskegee University made him who he is.
Yeah.
Now, that's a message that I try to go across and get to blacks. So like, look, there was Jim Crow. There was clear suffering. There was a lot of injustices that was done towards black. But use that as a crowning moment, because there's many people that we know that we thought had life made. And then you look at their lives as adults and it's been complete failure. Because they've never had to exercise their brain power, their willpower, their muscle power. Things have been handed to them. And that's a message that I would like to bring forward.
And you know what? That's funny. A lot of people, when I said I'm a black conservative and all that stuff, people say, well, the only reason you're a black conservative because when you grew up, you had things always handed to you. You was fed with a silver spoon. First of all, that's a lie. I was raised in the inner city of Rochester, New York. My dad was never in my life at all whatsoever. I was raised with my mom, but then also my great grandparents. My great grandparents, they really formed my morals and my thought process, and they helped me out a lot. So what I had when I was going through high school, that wasn't just a cakewalk. When I was younger, I had to go through tutoring and everything to get to where I am today. I am where I am today simply because the research that I've done. I just wasn't going to sit there. They said, if you want to hide something from a black person, put it in the book.
Yeah, that's why my book is so short.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. They said, if you want to hide it, put it in the book.
Yeah, that's why my book is so short. I kept it short, the attention span. Now, let me ask you this. How can people find you?
So now people want to find me. So they have my Twitter is at I am Devinn Smart, and Devinn is spelled Devinn, last name Smart, Smart. That's the same thing on Twitter, Instagram, and then Facebook is just Devinn Smart, my first and last name.
Awesome. And what's your plans for the future?
Oh man, see that's a loaded question. So I graduated from Hampton University with a Bachelor of Arts degree in sociology, but I'm currently pursuing a degree at Regent University, which is a master's in government with a focus on public policy and law. So I'm really looking into politics. I'm thinking about running for Hampton City Council in 2020. Right now, I sit on the Hampton Unity Commission, but then also I sit on the commission for the Hampton Clean Commission as well. So I'm really interested in politics and actually making a positive change. Back in 2016, when I was youth pastor at a church called the First Baptist Church of Hampton down here, I brought together Democrat, Republicans, military, college students, and we sent over 2,500 cases of water to Flint, Michigan. So I do see myself going into politics and actually being a person who's going to put policies in place that's actually going to help.
How will you handle the Democrats and the Democratic groups? Once you decide to step in.
I've been told by Democratic leaders here in Virginia already, Devinn Smart, you graduated from Hampton University. If you don't identify as a Democrat on your Twitter, we're going to fight you tooth and nail. If you run for city council or ever run for Congress, whatever you do, we will not support you. But guess what? It doesn't matter to me. I'm going to state my facts. I'm a person that's real personable. I love connecting and building relationships with people. So I'm just going to sit down and have conversations with people, and I'm going to earn their trust. And I've done things. My track record speaks for itself. I care about everyone. I care about the Black community, and I'm going to make a change. And if the Democrats, it's not going to be easy for them. They're gonna attack the emotions, and I'm going to bring the facts.
The beauty about this is that's what we need, and that's where we have to start, man. And you're a very intelligent young man. Not just intelligent, like I said. Some people they need to ask for their money back.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
There's passion, and there's compassion, and that's what is needed, and that's what's necessary, man. And I'm gonna keep encouraging you, man. And I hope we'll build forward, from here, and hopefully we'll have a pretty good response, to this message. And I look forward again in the future. This is Claston Bernard with New Right Network, author of the book Outcast: No Room at the Table for Conservative Blacks in Black America, with Devinn Smart. Devinn, anything else you want to say on this 4th of July?
Oh man, I would just say thanks again for the opportunity. I really appreciate it. And listen, enjoy your day.
You too. Thank you very much.
All right, bye bye.
Bye bye. Awesome. It was awesome.